Hey everyone, welcome back to the Off the Line Performance YouTube channel. Today we are going to be doing a quick install on our EJ series press-in AN breather conversion kit. I have the kit laid out right here. Our parts guy had to run and go grab a couple fittings for me real quick, but I got everything else right here. I'll go through all the fittings later on because it is a drop-down option on the page that you'll see here. But the basic kit just comes included with these 6 fittings here and the 2 press-in adapters. A lot of people ask if these are a cap, if we're meant to cap these off, and no, these are just to install. Since most people don't have a hydraulic press at their house, they're just going to be using a hammer like we are today. So the tools you're going to need are very, very minimal, other than the tools you'll need to get the engine to this point right here, which is no intake manifold. You don't have to have it out of the car, but we do for demonstration purposes. First thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the existing barbed breathers. I actually did that yesterday because it only dawned on us this morning that we should make this video. So all you need to do to get that taken care of is just grab a pair of vice grips, and what you're going to do is you're going to come over and you're going to remove these fittings. Come here, come here, come here. So you got to rip this one out here. That's your central block breather, and then this one as well. Like I said, I already got them out, so they just kind of popped out now, but you just kind of flatten them and then twist them a little bit. Once they break loose, you'll be able to kind of work them out. It's really not that hard. It can just take you maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So we're gonna get both of those out in the center, and then there's 2 on each valve cover as well that we're gonna get those ripped out. After you get those out, go ahead and get a little bit of brake clean or some rubbing alcohol and a towel. Go ahead and wipe out the hole. You're gonna want it free of oil and contaminants and dirt, because we're actually going to be using a green Loctite, or this one's Permatex, a sleeve retainer, because you want these things to stay in. That's the whole point of them. So let me go get a towel and some brake clean. We'll get that done real quick. I'm just going to get this folded into sort of like a tip like this. Spray down with just a little bit brake clean. We're just going to wipe those out as best we can. Get it nice and dry. Some of the common questions with this kit is pros and cons, benefits. This particular reason that we're doing it on this car, when I was disassembling this motor, the factory barbed ports actually just fell out because they came loose. So customer opted for that. But other reasons are, with AN fittings, you can get a really nice tight radius on your hose routing. I'll kind of demonstrate that later. So if you're going for like not a totally tucked engine bay, but just slightly neater than stock, this makes things a lot easier, because Subaru PCV systems are a little bit more intricate than regular cars or other cars. So we got those wiped out. We're going to start with the big one. So like I said, this is not a cap, it's an install tool. So we're just going to thread that all the way on, get it nice and snug. We're going to take a little bit of our green Loctite, and just put a little bit around the whole circumference there. I'm actually going to smooth this over with my finger, just get some good contact area there. This stuff is pretty gnarly. You definitely don't want to use this on fasteners. Only use the green Loctite or Permatex on stuff that you do not want coming out ever. Then as simple as this, you just tap it in, just like that. And then give that stuff a little while to cure up. I don't know, I'm sure it says on the instructions here how long it takes to cure up. It's just for educational purposes. Don't show my weed, Jay. Okay, so this is the stuff I'm using. You can get this at pretty much any parts store, but like I said, it's a sleeve retainer, so it's going to hold down. It's basically going to bond the metals together without actually doing that. It's got an operating temperature of 400 degrees, so you're not going to melt it. And let's see, parts fixture within 1 hour, cured 24 hours. So it cures in 24 hours. So get this done overnight, go to work the next morning, and then it'll be good to go. We'll just keep going down the line here with the rest of them. can kind of hear the tone of your hammer change when it's fully set in. So you don't have to go wailing on it. I mean, I'm using a pretty small hammer here. Another question is if this kit is, if it can work with an AOS, specifically a Cobb or IAG one. And yes, it can. The only thing I like to do differently when I fit an AN kit onto the AOS is I like to relocate the AOS drain to the turbo drain. A really cool company called 3MI actually makes a kit for that. And all this does, this is your turbo drain here, and it gives you a little Y with an extension hose that goes up to your AOS. That way your rear breather here, the big one, is only used for breathing and not oil return. So yeah, that's how you do that. And that's a $30 part, so not too bad. Doesn't add a whole lot of cost. Gage is calling me. You know what that means?
Can't find it.
It means they don't have it. They don't have it. That's okay. We can order it. That's all right. Yeah, grab the other stuff while you're at it, yeah. It's going to be a small hiccup in the operation, but that's all right. We can still show the rest of it. There. What's up, dude? Okay, so now that those are all in, now we can get to work on making our hoses.
Oh. Said, Dad.
What's your problem?
Dad, I miss you all day.
What's your problem? She's shivering, dude. Go with Mom. Go with Mom. Go with Mom. So we can start by making our crossover hoses. For the AOS users, you're going to use the hoses that come included with the AOS kit. You're just going to shove these fittings onto your AOS hoses. Only difference is your 12AN block breather, you'll just put this to your bottom port on your AOS, the very bottommost one. So that one obviously can just get set on just so it can be done with. You then have two straights. If you hit the drop down option that's right here on the website, you're going to get the fittings included. But no hose, just because every car is a little bit different in the way that the hoses are routed. So, but we have these ones to do the crossovers. So the 45s right here go on the front, and then the 90s will go in the back. For this hose, we're just using a bulk off-the-shelf parts store brand hose. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. The one thing that it does have to be is fuel and petroleum safe. So this one is a Gates brand hose and says SAE fuel line right there, and it's 1/2 inch. That's the size that you're going to need for these fittings. You have to use a fuel or petroleum rated hose. If you use a coolant hose, what you'll run into is your breather hoses will start sweating oil, and you'll just have a humongous mess on your hands, and you'll ultimately end up having to redo the entire job. So use a fuel rated hose. And that's just going to press right on. Pretzel's the star. Pretzel's the star, dude. Okay. So shove the hose on all the way up until it's at this little rubber collar here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it on this fitting. And then I'm just going to sort of lay it how I want it to lay. The fitting we're actually missing for the video, which kind of sucks, but it is this part number here. I actually, hang on. Check me out, Jay. Check me out. 498-201-BL. This is the fitting we're missing for the video. This is going to go on that center fitting that we put on the very middle of the block, and then our two 8AN straights from the cylinder heads are going to go onto the sides here. So that whole system where it goes to the center of the block and then to the outside of the heads, that basically just helps equalize the crankcase pressure across the heads and the block. So that's very important. We're going to retain that. We just don't have it for the video that we're shooting right now, but trust me. So, like I said, this fitting is going to land just about right here. It's going to land about right there. So I'm going to run just enough hose to where I can kind of loop this up without it kinking. Which is going to be about right there. We'll get our cutters. Get that chopped off, and then shove our other straight fitting on. This can kind of be a little tough sometimes. Now that I got it started, I'm going to actually take it back off. I'll do it the way I did before. There we go. Okay. That's basically it for these hoses. You just need to have one of the 45s, one of the straights going to that special fitting that we're unfortunately out of for the video. So you just replicate that on each side, and that will get your crankcase pressure equalization hoses done. It'll land something just like this, and that looks a lot cleaner than the factory setup. You have a steel tube that goes across with some random hoses that are just kind of squeeze clamped on. So this looks a lot cleaner. You can tuck it if you wanted to run it way out here up along the firewall or underneath the car, whatever you want to do. The benefit of having this AN fitting is you can get a super tight radius like this 45 or a 90 or a 180, whatever you want to do, and get the hoses to lay on the engine the exact way that you want for your build. Okay, it's a couple days later. I finally got that fitting that we were missing in and installed, so you can see the full kit on the engine now. Again, the main piece that we were missing is just a head and crankcase equalization line. Just make sure that the crankcase pressure is equal across all of them. So you're going to want to lay it something like this. Give it a nice amount of room around your TGV and your manifold. I've done it like this multiple times. I haven't run into any fitment issues. But again, that's why we don't include pre-made hoses, because every setup is just a little bit different. So you might have to tweak it, might have to go around something, in front of something, whatever. But again, I always do it with the 45s in the front and the 90s in the rear. That way you can have both of them stacked on top of each other, and you get the T-fitting in the center, right in the middle of the block. And then the big, I think this is a 12 AN breather out the back. If you're gonna use this kit with a AOS from Cobb or IAG, I recommend getting a 3MI AOS drain kit, because that is going to move your AOS drain from this back block breather over to the turbo drain. It is a little bit labor intensive to install because you have to remove the turbo, but if you're installing this kit, you probably have the turbo off anyway. So if you have any questions about installing the kit, you can email us. We'll happily provide any information you need. And yeah, let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.